And I would now like to invite Mr. Rajen Vagadia, Managing Director of Qualcomm, to share his views on smartphone 2.2.
So thank you and good afternoon again. I think this topic, smartphone 2.0, was something probably is very relevant for, let's say, Qualcomm. I'd like to share a few ideas, and I think most of it is known to us. I'm only going to talk about a few aspects which we see as what's going to happen in the next few years as 2.0. It's very difficult to define what is 1.0 and 2.0. But in simple terms, the innovation that this single product has created over the last few years is unimaginable. And as we take a stock of actually what where we are today. The smartphone has become integral. Nothing what I'm going to say in this slide is something which you don't know. It's such an integral part of our life that there was one place where I read that every day you touch it for 150 times. I don't believe it's 150, actually it's more than that. It is almost an irreplaceable product from our life. And just to give a sense of what it stands today and how it looks today, there are three comparisons which I came across, and one was basically the smartphone of today is more powerful than a supercomputer of 1990. It's even more powerful than the spacecrafts NASA launched a few decades back. In terms of graphic capabilities, earlier one of our colleagues mentioned that the graphics, how complex they can manage this, they are actually like gaming consoles as of today. In terms of some more rudimentary and more lower level aspects which they've taken care of, if you see how much they've replaced in our lives, they've virtually replaced a camera which we used to carry, a video camera, e-reader, probably navigation. So the number of gadgets a single gadget has replaced in our life is amazing. The way we create and consume content has changed, and that's very visible because it's not too difficult to fathom that. We have seen that in Qualcomm, these bars of expectation from what that product delivers go up. And as we keep innovating and we keep making these innovations translate into these devices, there are two aspects which essentially will influence the next generation of the smartphones, and there's no single cutoff timeline for that. The first one, I would say, is AI. And this is something which probably we have talked a lot about. And every phone which you see gets launched today, you'll see an AI. But it wasn't talked, like we never had heard about AI probably even 3 years back. And then how is it that in every aspect of our conversation, AI is there today? Actually, honestly, it's used in, even if sometimes we take it very subtly and we don't, it's so subtle and so we take it as if it's granted. But things like photography, what you have been seeing, the bokeh modes and all the complexities which you're seeing in the videography or the photography, these are all actually run on fairly complex algorithms on AI. Gaming, browsing, and even battery life. So sometimes you may wonder how can battery life be something which AI can run, but there are algorithms built for better battery lives. This is also making one fundamental change is happening because of AI. And I'll come to that a little bit later too. The analytics, or rather the complexity and the compute is coming to the edge. So there was a phase which we saw that everything was pushed to the cloud. And now it's actually coming back to the device, and we'll go there as what is triggering that. The smartphone 2.0, as we say, is not too far off. AI is one, and associated to AI is the next is 5G. A lot of discussions today on 5G and the challenges. I'm not going to talk about challenges. I think the industry knows the challenges. Has it not faced these challenges in the past? It has. Will it be able to overcome it? Absolutely. Sometimes I do ask this question to myself. I'm not going to open it here because there'll be massive debate on that one. When there was a 3G, I'm sure the question if it was asked that what would 4G deliver and why do I need 4G in my life, and the answer would be I don't know. I don't need it. Probably, I think we may have questions on that. Qualcomm sees, because of the innovations we trigger, they are so early in our cycle that when we brought 5G, we know globally, we know what 5G is going to create. And some of us have been debating upon it. We have been seeing live examples of those executions that have just started happening. With a lot of these devices and billions of these devices collected, we'll have a lot of this data, which many people talk about. We need to analyze those data. And that is, this we call it the data lakes. The massive data lakes are going to create, whether you take them to the cloud, you park them there, or you bring them back. A change which is being impacted is in the chip design. A good part of the silicon footprint is being consumed by AI. So when the whole world is about miniaturizing and making the chip smaller and smaller so that the power consumption is better. And so every square of the chip counts. And what we are seeing is that as the compute power of the phone goes on increasing, a big part of this square is going towards all activities associated with AI. Whether this is driven by the end consumption of gaming or other use cases, that is what is contributing towards the chip footprint. And this is also going to help on one other aspect that we'll move, as I said. So there is this transition that we took everything to the cloud because we thought that, oh, it's easy. Applications, if you mark like Ola, Uber, were able to deliver more on 4G than they would have typically delivered on 3G. The reason is a little bit of those analytics started coming back to the device. The device started performing more. Gaming is on now you do the gaming on the phone. A lot of this gaming is happening on the phone. But what we see is with the arrival of 5G, how is it going to impact is in a few ways. 5G stands for, all of us know that it's for multi-gigabit speeds, extremely low latency, high coverage, and super reliability. How is that going to impact the phone? So it is going to impact the phone. One is it's going to change again one more time the way we consume, create, share this content. Because of low latency, a very immediate example of what you can do is the online gaming. Though that's not exactly what probably quite a few of us in this room would say, I don't want to do online gaming. But if you look at a 10 or 11-year-old child in a home, that is basically he's already hooked up onto this gaming. So online gaming is going to be fueled. We'll come to the more relevant use cases for the larger society, but this is what is going to be an immediate one which we'll start seeing. Real-time access to the cloud. Now, this is something which is a little bit of a, I would say, a bit uncertainty, but I would say I'm more certain even when there is a little bit of uncertainty here. As the cloud in 5G is more accessible and faster and more dependable, there are going to be applications which are developed. Now, take one example of this. The apps today are developed for, let's say, a OS. You have various OSs, and every app company has to build an app for that particular OS. 5G probably will help neutralize that because now the apps are hosted in the cloud. So that's one. V2X was another classical example of this low latency applications. That is going to be another one. Globally, you will see a lot of these where primarily I see that V2X coming more for vehicle to the infrastructure rather than the vehicle to the vehicle. And this is just the beginning of this new age where you will see this 5G which enriches our life. To give you an example of some quantification of what this means to the devices, the smartphone 2.0, there are some parameters which I would say in terms of the latency. So in 5G, as you will see, there are two frequencies which essentially may get auctioned and are being auctioned globally. So when it's sub 6, on the latency there is a 3x improvement. On when you add millimeter wave, it's probably going to better or improve the latency, download latency by 20x. The download speed improvement on a sub 6, it's like 3x. On a millimeter wave, it's 10x. The streaming video performance, when you add a sub 6 5Gs on the phone, it's going to be 4%, and then when you have millimeter wave, it can go as high as 95%. This is going to create a totally different generation of applications which we will see, and use cases, and services built around these use cases. Most of us probably are on Android, and what we see is that the Android OS will give, as this is a massive platform, we'll see a lot of applications help drive this ecosystem and we'll be able to experience earlier, as globally these are driven. On the final slide, we see these devices being launched earlier in this, a few weeks back in MWC, we launched our 5G devices. There were quite a few OEMs who announced it globally. I personally believe very strongly that these devices are going to be surfacing in India fairly quick. That's one of our objectives too. We may not have the networks, but I believe that a device first also has an advantage to the market that ecosystem of devices existing motivates everybody, a consumer also, and also the operators to bring 5G into India. There is a lot of excitement we have, and we in Qualcomm India are doing a lot of research for all what is going in the smartphone 2.0. We have a massive engineering presence across multiple cities, and I think we will probably be a rightful partner in taking a pride in saying that the smartphone 2.0, a big part of us was built in India. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rajen. I think you have revealed a lot of things about the smartphone 2.0, a lot which is going to come in the near future. Thank you so much once again.